A very good afternoon to all of you. My name is Gautam Sinha, and I'll be the moderator for this session. I'm currently the CEO of Simplo, but overall have been working in the industry for about 36 years, starting with DRDO as a scientist for Dr. Kalam, when I launched Agni, Prithvi, Trishul, Nag and Akash with him from 86 to 91. My last tenure was as the Group CEO of Times Internet, running 40 businesses for the Times Group, which was at that time the largest digital media company in the world. I'm currently the CEO of Simplo, and it's my pleasure to host 4 very distinguished guests today, and very experienced folks from the industry, from the legal tech industry, from the general counsel, which I would like to introduce to all of you. And we are looking forward to a very engaging session with all of them. Let me first start with the introduction of Vaibhav. Vaibhav Khanna is the head of intellectual property at Sterlite Technologies Limited, or STL for short, a company under the Vedanta umbrella with a prominent presence in the telecom industry. As an IP lawyer and leader with a 2-decade experience, he has been driving innovation, managing IP risks, litigation and licensing, and strategically leveraging IP to deliver tangible business outcomes. His approach to IP extends beyond legalities, converging with innovation, strategy, and business. During his non-work hours, he volunteers for the cause of IP ecosystem development in India through various government departments, industry forums, and non-profits. Vaibhav, a very warm welcome to the panel. Our next panelist is Sujat Bin Ali. He is currently working as the Global General Counsel and Chief Compliance Officer and leading the global legal and compliance, corporate governance and secretarial ethics risk management function of global private equity firm KKR-backed Sustainability Limited. He is a member of the ESG Committee and Risk Management Committee, DII Council of the company. Sujat was awarded with one of the India's finest in-house councils, recognition by Indian Corporate Counsel Association, supported by Ministry of Commerce, Ministry of Law and Justice, and also named as one of the top 100 general counsels in India by Legal500.com in years 2016 and also in 2018. He loves to share knowledge, network, build relationships, and learn from everyone and bring new ideas to the table. He is happily married, and his 13-year-old son, Fauzan, and 8-year-old daughter, Marian, are his greatest source of learning, inspirations, and joy. Outside of work, he enjoys teaching, traveling, reading subjects of varied interest, including health, fitness, and spirituality. Welcome, Sujat, to the panel. My third guest is Dr. Mukul Shastri. He is currently the General Counsel and a whole-time Director, GC and WTD of Cube Highways, and has more than 2 decades of experience. Prior to joining Cube, Dr. Shastri has been with large conglomerates such as RPG Group, Adani Group, and Welspun Group. He started his career as litigating lawyer, then went on to become an academician and then central banker. His stint as assistant professor NLU Jodhpur and legal officer of RBI gives him very interesting perspective, which we would like to hear. He has been conferred many accolades such as Legal 500 GC Power List 2023, Forbes India Top General Counsel 2021-2022, to name a few. Reading science fiction, playing chess, and spending time with young students, teaching them basic science English is his passion. A very warm welcome, Dr. Mukul, to the panel. Last but not the least, I'm very happy to introduce Parveen Mahtani. She is currently the Chief Legal Officer at Mahindra Lifespace Developers Limited. She is a gold medalist and has degrees from Harvard Business School. She is the founder of Amvisor, and as her passion as an independent director, she is also engaged with the World Youth Summit and is a member participant of the United Nations Global Compact organization. She is passionate about women issues and women empowerment, and she is actively involved in forums to promote that. Parveen, a very warm welcome to you. To the audience, we will go through and listen to the expertise of all the panelists in 3 sections. And we have 10 minutes for question and answers. I'll encourage all the audience who want to ask any question to any of the panelists to use the chat infrastructure in their screens and to put out the questions there. If it's for any particular panelist, that will try to address as many questions in the 10 minutes that is in the last 10 minutes of this particular panel. So I'll come to Parveen with the first question. Parveen, what are the primary issues that you face in terms of technology, especially in the legal department as a general counsel for your company?
Thank you for this opportunity. I think the primary issues that any legal department faces, and I've been on in-house counsel for a much longer period of my career rather than on the law firm side, is security, authentication, and authorization. So primarily where we come from is that as lawyers, most people within law firms and in-house, we are very risk averse. There are costs to acquire, there are soft costs to train and learn. There's a risk in the transition. I don't think as lawyers, the issue is about inefficiency. It is not that lawyers don't want to listen, and it's not that lawyers can't understand technology, which is sometimes made out to be. Most lawyers get that technology is easier, faster. That's not the issue. But it's the claimed benefits from the new technology when they actually don't show themselves. That's where the issue. I think the larger issue that does arise is the accountability relating to AI. And that is where we have to be there. So there are ethical obligations to the companies that we work in. We're hesitant to be on the bleeding edge of any technology. Untested technology or a risk of malpractice, a suit that we could be exposed to, or an ethics complaint because something broke. These are the kind of issues that we typically have to deal with. There are costs, definitely, lastly, that are associated with adopting a new technology or new procedure. And we have to have the ability to evaluate what the current tech is and how it stacks up against the new tech before we adopt it.
Very true. Very true. Dr. Sastry, if I can come to you, you have been engaged in the legal department for more than 2 decades. Why do you think the technology adoption in legal departments has been relatively slow as compared to other departments in the company, the HR, the sales, finance, and so on? What are the bottlenecks and hurdles that you face?
Thanks, Mr. Sinha, and thanks, ET Legal World. Absolute pleasure to be here and discussing this very relevant topic. Now, coming to this point as to why the adoption of technology is slow in legal department, and here I agree with what Parveen just said, that we all are risk averse, and lawyers or legal professionals generally tend to be risk averse, and therefore they have to be absolutely sure before they can embark upon a technology. Interestingly, as you all might be aware of also, there are few cases where fake cases were uploaded by an AI searched some cases. They look like very similar, and they were quoted or cited before a Madras High Court. So these people do not boast any confidence in these tech to legal people, and therefore it is always slow. But of late, if I say last 5-7 years or so, things have changed a lot. If I can see my own journey of 2 decades, way back in 2000, there was no even a typewriter was like the god at the time. Even computer printouts were not accepted in code of law if you take a printout and give them as pleadings. So from there, we have come to a place where we have virtual courts, online submission. So technology is slowly and gradually is establishing itself in the legal field. But then again, so far as the AI-based solutions are concerned, last 4-5 years, I see we have now a lot of softwares that help us in legal research. We have a lot of softwares which help us in basic case management or litigation management. We have softwares for e-discovery, etc., that we use it a little bit here, even in large litigations. But then again, AI can do a lot more. It can just, we are, I guess, using a very small portion of tools that are even available today for us. They're we are using them in a very mundane fashion or a very, very basic, naive fashion, which I feel is due to our mindset. And that has to change slowly and gradually. And conferences like this is really helpful in changing that mindset. Because tools are there and we have to now start utilizing them more. So to answer your question, I feel it is more of a mindset, the approach, and the people, they do not want to lose out on large litigations or large contractual clauses just because they're like on AI, and therefore they always rely on human expertise in large ticket items. So this is what I feel. That there's a reason why the adoption is slow in legal departments of technology.
Wonderful. I'll just ask one more question to you, Dr. Sastry. I've heard many times from general counsels, from the legal department, is that you deploy a tool, then you start working for the tool. The tool doesn't work for you. Is that something, you resonate with, or do you have a different perspective on that?
That is interesting. I resonate with it rather. So as a GC right now with highways, there are 4 departments which reported to me. One is legal department, there we have a litigation management tool. One is contracts department, where we have a contract lifecycle management tool. Then we have a compliance department reported to me, we have a compliance tool. Interestingly, for all these 3, we have to adopt ourselves, or we have to just change ourselves, our way of approach to work, how it suits the tool, rather than the tool helping us in our how we want to work. They're always there. Like we have a litigation management tool, so we have to key in certain data so that we can get a meaningful data out of it. So therefore, we have to now key in, and we have to keep thinking that yes, this is what we should know, because unless we do not do the right input, it will not give us the right output. So I totally agree and resonate with the fact. However, I believe that there are a lot of AI tools which automatically learn from the system, and we have to now go to those smart tools which are learning by its own experiences. That okay, right now I am in a private equity firm. It is a P fund based organization. Therefore, the legal requirement, the contextual requirement is far different than I was with Adani, which was a hardcore infrastructure company, or I was in Verispan. Or if had I been in a manufacturing company, the requirement would have been completely different from that tool based on that industry also. So like we as GCs evolve when we join a different company, like the tool also has to evolve. And right now, I totally resonate with what you said, that we are right now chasing the technology rather than technology coming to our aid in the way what we want. But it is again, I guess, problem is with us, not with technology. Technology is there. We are not using it to the right way or in the right manner, to the right extent.
Very true. Let me come to Sujat with a slightly different topic, but again relating to the problems that the corporations have. It's related to governance, risk, and compliance, which Sujat, you have managed significantly. If you can come and help us understand what are the tools available and what are the problems you face when it comes to compliance, governance, and risk management of the company as the general counsel and person managing this.
Sure. Thanks, Gautam, and I resonate with, of course, all the points, what my fellow panelists talked about with respect to the implementation. So I think, on the governance, risk, and compliance, I, did have an experience in terms of implementing compliance management tools. I think, maybe 5-10 years back, the whole approach of compliance was all back to back. The factory manager gives a certificate to the business head gives to the leadership, and leadership gives to the board. Right, that was the approach, and we all know the Companies Act provisions and the listing provisions, with respect to directors' responsibility. So, whether do we have a robust framework? So, I think the things have changed pretty much now. I think there is a lot of acceptability in the management, in the within the GCs and compliance officers to implement a robust compliance management tool. I think that's a big challenge, because you have factories around 100, and you have so many regional offices, multiple geographies. And one simple question you need to, respond back to the board, that are we compliant? Are we safe? I'm not going to jail. These are the kind of questions. And imagine the kind of confidence the compliance officer or the general counsel should have to demonstrate that the effectiveness and efficiency of the compliance system is there. Of course, that is one aspect, and we are seeing implementation of compliance tools. I think the next aspect would be whether we can use AI and try to integrate that with the compliance tools and give some more early warning signals and enhance the robustness. Is this next aspect of what we are definitely looking for. I think in terms of the governance, of course, whether it is with respect to code of business ethics training, approval matrix, insider trading, anti-bribery related processes, and all of those aspects, whether it is with respect to the policies, workflows, procedures, and getting proper assurances and training. I think that is some of the tools which we have implemented early as well. Risk management, I think, while there are some tools already which can map the risks available and also come to various mitigation measures, I think that can also be done. But the challenge is, as Dr. Mukul did mention, I mean, we are all having so many different tools, one for litigation, one for compliance, one for contract, one for training, one for workflow. Then you have an enterprise software called SAP or whatever it might be. I mean, I think, as a, GC and a compliance officer, I would definitely want to have one, enterprise legal kind of system which integrates all these things and gives me one answer. I think that's the future what I think should be looking for us. Yeah.
Absolutely. We'll come back to the little bit of future gazing in the third section. So we'll continue on this topic a little later. I'll now go to Vaibhav. Vaibhav, I have two questions for you. First is slightly non-contextual, so bear with me. You have an IT and IM degree and you chose law as your career. Second, you are in Sterlite Technologies, which is on the leading edge of technology. And IP in India is not as well developed as it is in some other countries, in the IP protection and things like that. I would love to understand your perspective on IP laws and what tools can help you with IP protection and making this a force within India in terms of what you're doing at your present company.
And this is, agree, I mean, this is definitely a googly, a great question. So for me, I am an engineer at heart. I'm an engineer to begin with. That's where my heart always lied. And then I moved into IP. Over a period of time, I understood it's not only a cup of tea for an engineer or a technology. Realize there is a large part of it has a legal angle to it. Got the legal part of it sorted. Realize that without really putting it to a business use, it's not really kind of delivering the value that it should deliver. Because currently the way merge two of your questions in a certain bit, but then the way we look at it from an Indian point of view, IP, intellectual property, patents, trademark, copyrights, they are looked in a very isolated point of view. What is being worked there? There's some invention comes up, you protect it. There's some trademark, you protect it, and just forget it. But then these essentially are the assets. We look at Motorola's and Google's of the world and how they are using it. So they are really impacting their bottom line and top line using these IP assets. So that's where this convergence of technology, business, legal, and IP came in. And that is what has always allowed me to deliver results for the business rather than just doing pure legality part of it. And that really brings me to the kind of challenges that we face from a very, very legal and IP point of view. We are in an era with this IP and large language model like ChatGPT, etc., being in there. We are suddenly entered into an era where all our business practices, if not all, most of our business practices from risk management point of view, from legal management point of view, they are certainly looking like they are living in dinosaur age, because the world has changed so fast, so quickly overnight, that all practices have been left unprotected. Let's take an example. We are looking at patent litigations happening between Daimler, which is maker of Mercedes, and Nokia. they are operating in two very, very different technology domains. They were, I mean, year back, they were not even a year back or 2 years back, they were not even a competition remotely. Of course, no contract, no IP, no technology is being compared anywhere. And suddenly we find just because Mercedes used connected car kind of a system, they faced with a patent infringement litigation in Germany, and then it went on for some time, and then obviously it got settled. But then now the risk profile that a particular business is exposed to is way beyond what has been comprehended right now in our contracts, in our legal systems, in our even laws for that matter. So even if you see, laws and regulation are still trying to figure out how do we handle all of it, what is happening. OpenAI, ChatGPT, they've been sued by a lot of creators on whose content
IP.
large language model has been trained. So it is being trained, it has been sued for copyright violation. But then these are still unanswered questions. There is one way of looking at it is, okay, somebody else's data has been used without permission, it's a violation. But then there is other way of looking at it is AI is just a tool, just like your pencil sharpener, rubber eraser. And it is not reproducing the data that is being there. So just like human cognitive intelligence, it reads the data, understands it, and apply it in a certain form. So these are all unanswered questions. And none of our traditional contract practices take any of these things into consideration, because traditionally these challenges were not there. So now we are all exposed to challenges which were never seen before, which were never anticipated before. And these challenges are posed by AI, but then the solution to these challenges also AI, which can really bring in perspective from very, very different areas, very, very different domains, summarize documents for you, bring in the highlights, do some predictive analysis, changing market scenario, how certain clauses can really turn against you in certain point of time, certain future. So again, so these are the things that we are really facing right now. And again, like you said, the adoption has been really slow in legal world, because like panelist did mention rightly that we have been very risk averse for obvious reasons. But then that also had a cascading effect that technology companies always believe that there is very low chance of adoption of technology. So the technology was never designed with legal frame in their mind. So hence we keep struggling with whatever is been designed, because it was essentially not really designed for legal ecosystem.
Legal.
So here we are, and
no, very good points. I think since we started talking about AI, that's a great segue to the next section. I'll come to Dr. Sastry because he used a couple of terms which I've heard every GC using when the context is AI. This is about hallucination. It has captured everyone's mind that AI can hallucinate. And if you are building a legal grade system, you can't be hallucinating or have ethical biases. Dr. Sastry, if I can come to you and help us understand the issues, and then we'll work through the solutions of how to get to a system which doesn't hallucinate and has a better than 99% accuracy. Over to you, Dr. Sastry.
Thanks, Mr. Sinha. Rightly said, how in adoption of the technology is both ways. And as very rightly pointed out by Vaibhav, it is not only the fault of the GCs or the legal department, it is also the technology companies, because somehow their solutions are as so far as an HR, like we use all Darwin boxes and similar HR solutions. As neatly they have made it for them, maybe the solutions are not as neat and as suave and as easy to use so far as the legal domain is concerned. So maybe there is a bias in them also, quite possible, which Vaibhav rightly highlighted. The problem with that is now it's a chicken egg problem. Now, because of that, these technologies, they give the GCs very less comfort, and that's why the entire hallucination and the entire problem, the GC then think that, okay, this technology will not work for me, so the confidence doesn't come. And when the confidence is not there, then obviously you will require human beings to always cross-check these things. So even if there is a software which will give me a complete contract, automated contract, I'll still ask my junior to read it, and a human person to again go through that 200-page document and tell me whether everything is okay or not. Now that is the kind of comfort not there in the tool itself. Even the tool has given me 10 case laws that this is what Supreme Court has said or this is what High Court has said, but I will still want my human person, a human lawyer, to go and cross-check those things. So that is why that what you call confidence is missing. So to answer to it or to find some solutions to it, so it is both ways. One is obviously we have to make them, we have to welcome these technologies in whatever point and shape they are there. And if possible, to have a single grade system, because right now, as even Shujat was talking about, the multiple systems, and then along with, if you see at an enterprise level, there are multiple enterprise systems. We have a different system for HR, different for finance, different for procurement, different for operations, different for legal, and different for contract, compliance, and so on and so forth. If I have 22 departments, I have 22 softwares, and then I'm struggling with each and every software, duplicacy of data, and then problem is of storage also. So everyone will not store and pick it from the right place. It will always have different storages for every single thing, and a lot of problems. And now after DPDP Act and their rules, which will come into force very soon, we never know, there can be a big risk of data leakages also in such cases. So all these things, therefore, the solution lies maybe in a joint collaboration between the legal community, the GC community, and the technology companies, whereby they come out with what is rightly, what can be the right solutions. Interestingly, the kind of e-discovery software, so we handle litigations outside India also, and the kind of e-discovery solutions the foreign lawyers rely upon, I have not seen that reliance by the Indian lawyers. So as a simple example as to why there's such a big disconnect between the use of technology. So maybe it is our mindset, and maybe the technology is right now is not providing me that solutions which is that user friendly. So that is where I guess somewhere in middle path the solution lies. The technology has to go up. Should I want to say something?
Yeah.
Yes.
Just to add, supplement, Mukul, I think the reason possibly the HR related software and legal related tech might be slightly challenging, because unlike in HR where the employee life cycle is pretty clear irrespective of the industry, the legal compliance and contracts issues are way different to an infrastructure company, to energy, to a media. That could possibly be a big challenge for the legal tech companies.
So that's why we need AI, which can learn these things fast. So we need a smart solution which learns. If I implement something after a year, it should understand that okay, what a private equity platform and infrastructure company requires, and if it is installed in some other company, what that company requires. So maybe that is where the solution lies. I do not know, but yes, rightly said, Shujat.
Absolutely. Let me ask this question again to Praveen. Praveen, AI is a technology which is built on data. And if you don't have all the data, you will never have 100% accuracy. So how can a legal department use something which is not 100% accurate? What is the comfort? Because I want to introduce the term called legal grade AI. What does that mean to you in terms of, what do you perceive? What is legal grade AI for you? And to Vaibhav's point, GPT is not legal grade, because and we all know that it hallucinates. So what is that comes to your mind when we say legal grade AI?
Exactly. That's the real question, because the amount of interpretation and analysis that our profession requires, it's the way two words are juxtaposed next to each other, which actually changes the meaning of everything, because the language itself does not have one meaning assigned to one word. It can be used in multiple ways, and the art of interpretation is where the skill of a professional, of a lawyer, really lies. So I would say AI will always have to be a support, but it cannot be a replacement of a lawyer. It will always be only a tool to enhance the way in which we do our profession. In one area, it does help reduce overheads costs. Those are the areas that need to be looked at, where it can really support. Certain portions of a legal job can be replaced, but by and large, like I said, the entire analysis, it cannot be what GPT does, where it drafts a document and sends it out and it cannot be reviewed. There are AI tools like Thought River that up or they streamline the way we do contract reviewing, but that is powered by machine learning, where it scans, reviews, highlights potential issues. But I think the final call of what really is it that we do with it is going to be done by a human lawyer. I think the other area where it does really support and is document processing, classification, analysis. That's where there can be some kind of support and a bit of legal research. I think where I'm finding one interesting use is using it as a tool for predicting a case outcome, the way it analyzes it. A lot goes into that strategic discussion right now on the probabilities of case outcomes, the analysis of the judgments and getting those datas there, then to be able to arrive at something does reduce a lot of research time. So I do see value in prediction of case outcomes as a support tool.
Wonderful. Thank you, Praveen. Vaibhav, if I can throw another googly at you. No.
Go ahead.
How do you know the system that you're using is actually AI or just called AI?
So it's a very pertinent question for a variety of reasons. Now, you pick up any tool, it has a connotation of AI, which you really don't know whether it's AI or not AI, or just for fundraising or just for marketing. That's a very tricky question to really understand it or even quantify it. But for me, AI really serves two purposes. One, it brings in efficiency in the system. Either it could be automation, it could be summarizing things, it could be highlighting challenges, it could be making things swifter, document classification, or just creating a first draft of a contract, or just highlighting the white space there. And more importantly, uh, it's a real AI for me if it can provide me one insight that has not come to me manually. And possibly if it has done it from a risk point of view, it has served its purpose way more than what it should have been. And that's what a true AI to me would actually be. Because at this point of time, so much of flux happening. There is a limitation in which the humans are able to perceive things because the things are changing way too fast, or they've changed way too fast. So to get out from a traditional mode of thinking, to adjust and understand what's happening, so that's where AI at this point of time is much faster than human beings, and we are possibly yet to adjust to that reality. And one quick shot at it and highlighting one risk or one scenario where a contract or a particular clause in the contract can really be a risk for your business in a particular geography or particular product, or it can even have a repercussion in terms of legalities or so on and so forth. I think that has served the purpose. So there is no straightforward answer whether the tool really has any AI or not. But then if it is really giving me something valuable which has been neglected by a human eye, that has totally served the purpose.
Wonderful. Thank you, Vaibhav. Sujat, I'll ask a related question to this. AI in itself is not the end goal. The ROI of whatever tool you deploy is the end goal. Is it actually creating value for you? How do you measure ROI of any tool within your organization?
Sure. So I think, of course, one of the biggest challenges, as a general counsel is what we feel whenever we talk about technology, automation, or AI, to start with, is the, the return on investment and the cost related conversation. I think that is a bigger one. But, off late, I would say that as the organization's overall digital strategy and, automation strategies, are being, having a board level conversation, it is quite easy relatively to talk about specific legal and compliance related tools. I mean, that way the CIOs and CTOs are trying to work on a larger budgets, and what HR wants to do, what finance has to do, and so on and so forth. So that way it has become easy. Having said that, still, I think from a return on investment standpoint, of course, I think in terms of the quality of work, whether it's enhanced in terms of the time, which we are saving. And for example, when we have, teams, how much they are coming out of an operational and administrative work and doing more of a tactical and strategic work, how much time I'm freeing it out. And of course, the external legal spend, which we incur, whether it is in litigation, opinions, research, and so on and so forth, that could also be, one factor with respect to along with the overall manpower cost. I think these are some of the parameters what can help to determine the return on investment. I do have one specific wish of how legal department or legal grade AI should look like. Maybe when opportunity comes, I can share that wish.
Absolutely. In fact, that again is a great segue to the third segment of the conversation, which is a little bit about future gazing. We have a current set of tools that is available to us. But if between the four of us, we can design a system which solves the problem, it doesn't have to exist today, but help design a system and answer few questions for us. We'll try to quantify, not just talk at 30,000 feet level, quantify how do you detect something is an AI system, a pure AI system, and something is a fake, and how do you measure ROI? But here for the purpose, let's say if you have to design a tool, Sujata, I will start with you, is what kind of tool would you want and what would you want it to solve for you?
Sure. Great. And if you would have possibly asked this question to a CEO and all, possibly he will not say, I want a general counsel.ai, but maybe he will say that, okay, maybe an assistant general counsel.ai, so at least which can does 25 to 30 or maybe up to 50% of time. I mean, keeping that aside, as a general counsel, what I would feel a potential tool can be, I mean, imagine a company, which has been working for last 20, 25 years. Possibly 4 or 5 general counsel would have worked already. Possibly 25 to 50 attorneys would have worked on 100 litigations, 50 transactions, and possibly 75 opinions. And there could have been multiple playbooks, different positions on different things, so many IP issues, all of those aspects. But what is happening is that, we can't leverage all the knowledge, which was worked since last 20 to 30 years. If there is an AI which has all these elements, which has an access to the work done, cases done, counsels involved, success ratio, all these aspects, it can help create a particular draft, maybe 25 to 50%, create a first cut, petitions, create a first cut opinion, and also help me in terms of the success ratio as to which law firm, what kind of a case, and what kind of senior counsel combination worked. Also a probability of winning a case based on the experience within that organization itself. And of course, it can also feed in some of the external databases like judgments and all those aspects. So I think some of these things which can actually help me in all the elements and possibly enhance the efficiency so that the team and myself can possibly focus more on strategy or more of a business partnering work, and take some of these decisions in a much better manner. I think that's the specific AI which I would want to have, but I understand that that's a quite challenging thing because it takes time to build that kind of AI. I mean, I can't use ChatGPT or a Bard and all to ask a draft an agreement or other stuff. The only thing we are right now using some of those tools is to do some of the research work. I mean, purely on some subject related, not legal research as such. So I think that is the kind of a tool. If it is there, that would be a great thing to add with, and it will only enable the team. It will not replace the existing teams, at least at a senior or a mid level.
Absolutely, wonderful answer. I'll wrap up. This is not a googly this time. In your very specific field of IP law, the IP law in India, IP protection in India is still catching up to what the standards are in the Western world. If you have to talk a little bit about the IP law, IP protection in India, and what tools would you know which will help you perform your function better?
About IP law, like you rightly mentioned, so IP has been becoming priority for the Indian government. We have been seeing in last 2 budgets. We continue to engage with government on different initiatives. The challenge that government is facing, it's more like a chicken and egg situation. They want Indian companies to file a lot more IP, lot more patents, lot more trademarks, lot of copyrights. But then because it's difficult to get an enforcement and injunctive reliefs, etc., from the court in a short duration of time, that's why companies have been a little hesitant to invest and move rather swiftly in that direction. So, and the challenge there is, if you fast track the entire court system and injunctive relief system, then possibly we are going to see a lot of domestic companies being kind of on the receiving end, because most of the patents are filed by MNCs. So it's more of a situation wherein how do we increase patent filing? First, if we want to increase the patent filing, we need to make the judicial system faster. If we make it faster, Indian companies would be at the receiving end. So it's more like a situation wherein there isn't an answer that has been found so far. A lot of initiatives have been done by government. They continue to do that. We'll see more of them in next budget and so on and so forth. So there is still a distance to be covered. But then if we see in last 5 years, the things have changed very, very drastically. We have moved from somewhere being an 85th in an innovation rank globally as a nation. We have moved to close to 30, 35 rank already. So there is a steady progress that is happening. Number of patents that are filing there, that's going up very significantly. And things are changing very fast and changing for good. And even for, we see Indian companies, if you talk about Stellite, we have been defending patent litigation successfully in US, Europe, Germany, UK, etc. And we have a track record of doing that. And not only that, we have been enforcing our patents successfully, getting successful, I would say, judgments in our favor, which is really, really helping our business in different timeframes and different products, so on and so forth. So things are changing very fast, very quickly. But coming to kind of tools that can really help us or others in the similar domain, we would ideally want 2 things from an AI-enabled tool to do for us. One, the contracts that are coming up, we want the tool to really understand the market, understand the technology, and see what competition is doing based on public data, maybe their website or press releases, etc., and highlight which contracts, which part of the contract or which clauses might turn against us in what scenarios. Then it could be human decision whether we want to live with it, not live with it, whatever. But we want this kind of in a 360-degree awareness on what's happening. Because again, like I mentioned earlier, the risk is coming from all directions and it's not comprehensible at this point of time humanly. That's one thing. And second thing, from our point of view, if we were to really want to develop a lot of IP around what we are doing, we want a predictive analysis coming in forum saying very clearly that this is what your invention is, or this is what your trademark is, and this is what exists already. And with this kind of an approach, or maybe this is the approach that you're suggesting, with this approach, there's a probability of success is X%. And maybe you can enhance that percentage to X plus delta X by doing something like this, or molding it something like this, or changing something like this. So with a lot of predictive capabilities and real-time data integration that can be brought into it from market, from competition, from technology, that is going to be something which is doable. In fact, there are some of the tools are available which have tried in trying to do that. But then I would say these are still at a very, very nascent stage, and a lot of them possibly will not exist 5 years down the line. But then this is what a future to me as my wish list would look like.
Wonderful. I have one more follow-up question, but let me come to Parveen first, and then I'll come back to you, Vaibhav. Parveen, if you are given a clean slate, what kind of tools would you want to build? Just theoretically, that is valuable to your organization, and you can look across the contracts, the governance, risk, compliance, everything from that perspective. And research, litigation, clean slate for you. Build the tool.
I wish that option did exist, but it doesn't. But maybe we get there at some point. I think what's really relevant, and if I had an absolute clean state, is something which is an AI tool which is accurate, it is precise. I think that's where the current gaps are. And something which is more all-encompassing. I think the current options which are being given are very specific, and you need several modules which do not speak to each other. And then that doesn't really solve the purpose, because there is no interconnectivity or the way you can fungibly connect all of them. And that is actually then increasing the work than really reducing the overall time spent, because the tools do not speak to each other. So if it is being prepared, and I'd say, I'm thinking from the way when metaverse evolved, eventually the parts of the metaverse started talking to each other. I think that's where even AI and legal tech needs to be there, where the companies which are developing it need to see how to have plug-in features so that their tool speaks to another tool. Currently, that doesn't exist at all. That really impacts the cost, because then we have to cherry pick what is our capital spend and to which tool we're going to deploy it, and which order offers the wider spectrum of services to resolve certain issues relating to whichever sector each of us really belong to. And then thereafter, the way technology is changing, by the time there is adoption of the tool within a company, it's really becoming redundant or replaced with a better technology, and that previous capital spend is getting impacted. So therefore, like a Lego piece, can we add on to existing tech and not be complete replacement modules, which is also the other issue that we face. And I think the allergy to start adopting a tool is it upgradable in a sense on its own, like a Lego puzzle, because a complete replacement is not possible given the quantum of investment that we have to make. And it's not just a financial investment, it is getting the entire corporate within the country, globally, that many number of employees to adapt to it. And that's the challenge that we really face. So given a clean slate, I'd say it's never going to be a perfect AI, but is it a flexible AI tool? Is it a fungible AI tool? I think that's how engineers are going to have to design it.
Wonderful. Thank you, Praveen. I'll have Mukul, Dr. Sastry have the final word for this session. And the question to you, Dr. Sastry, is, if you have to identify the 3 biggest problems that you face in your role and say, what are the tools that you'd like to have to solve those particular issues? We have had a generic discussion, and then, post your discussion, I think as a panel, we'll try to take question and answers from the audience and try to summarize and conclude this panel from there.
Thanks.
All right, over to you.
Yeah, thanks. So if I have to identify 3 things which really trouble me the most, and I need some solution for that. One will definitely be, as already outlined by Shujat and Vaibhav and Parveen, that if there can be some tool which can help me understand the possibility of a particular case, and how good, weak, strong my case is. And that can be basis the historical documents that are available, various case laws, how a particular bench looks at it, how the practice is, how the strength of the law is. So that is one thing which is really helpful. And I feel it's not that difficult to make by the technology companies. Like we have chess softwares, chess engines that tell you how to what can be the best move. So obviously there's just some billion moves have been fed into that system, and system is picking out the right move for you. So same thing, it can be done. All these judgments, all these approach by the court or judiciary can be fed in, and we can get some kind of predictability there. So I think the first thing which will really be helpful. Second thing can be whereby I know my contracts and my claims which are there. So what something which can really seamlessly attach all these things and bring to me, if I have a particular correspondence right now with me, if I can just link to the various contracts, the previous correspondences which has been issued on that particular letter, that will really help me. That okay, this particular letter is there. It pertains to these clauses of these different contracts. It impacts you. This is where it impacts you. It impacts you with this SPA. It impacts you with this particular EPC contract. It impacts you with O&M contract in this concession agreement, and likewise. And then these are the 20 correspondences which has been written on this pieces. This to this party, this to this party, and likewise. So that will really help me in formulating and writing a right response to that particular letter. So that is the second deal again, which is something which is very easily achievable. I feel so. And third, on the compliance front, something which can tell me that, okay, these are the various laws which applies to you specifically, and tell me that this you have to comply with. A simple checklist, if I can just enter the transaction, it can tell me that these are the different laws which are there. Like suppose if I have to get some money from Singapore to India, which has a private equity fund, which has Chinese partners also, they can just throw me out all the relevant regulations and rules and circulars. So it will help me in framing out those compliances. And all these three tools are very easy. Current technologies are there to make these tools. If I have these three tools with me, I guess my life as a GC would be much more easier.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr. Sastry. I think I have taken notes from all of your comments as to what you want. I will now open the floor for question and answers. I think we have a lot of questions which have come. I'll encourage the audience to put your questions in the Q&A panel, and we'll go through the panelists. If a particular question is for a panelist, please mention that as well. Otherwise, I'll leave the question open to any panelist to answer. I'll ask the first question. This is my question to Vaibhav. Vaibhav, companies which are high-tech companies in the US, they have a department whose whole purpose is to file patents. They file 10, 15, 20, the IBMs of the world, the Apples, the Googles, their whole purpose is to file. But you don't see a company like that in India. We do file patents, but the speed of filing of patents, either in India or globally, is much slower. When do you think we'll catch up to that? And that relates to your point. There are so many patents filed by the international organizations that it's a double-edged sword for India.
Let's look at it from a little historical point of view. So the Googles and Apples of the world, they are the set of companies that file close to 5,000 patents a year. So we are really talking about filing tens and 20s patents every day, per day. So they have that kind of a mindset, they have that kind of processes, and more importantly, they have the kind of resources to fund it. And they have been able to generate these resources because they have been able to enforce their patents and trademarks and copyrights, and they've been able to monetize them, generate revenue through licensing, etc. For example, Apple went against Samsung, and Apple was awarded their slide and unlock feature. There was one patent that you use your thumb. There's a horizontal slide and unlock feature that is there on Apple. That was there when Samsung first copied Apple's first iPhone. They had the same feature. Apple went to the court saying that this is what our patent is and Samsung should be blocked. Samsung fought it in US and Europe, went up to the federal circuit, that's equivalent of Supreme Court of India, lost every battle, and Apple was awarded $1 billion damages. So that basically means that if it was not Samsung, that company would have been killed, wiped off from the face of earth, to be very precise. So with that kind of revenue generation and the kind of money that they make, it's easy for them to do it. But then from a very importantly, from an India point of view, we are not there, but we are getting there. We are getting there fast. We have, I think 5 years back, we would have companies that we can count on fingers, Indian companies that would file more than 100 patents a year. Right now, we are talking about companies that we can count on fingers that file more than 1,000 patents a year in India. So we have reached a certain distance. We are traveling fast, and Indian government is very clear. They have a clear mandate that in 5G, 6G technologies and beyond, Indian organization need to hold at least 10% of that entire global patent portfolio. So basically, we are talking about filing at least 20,000 Indian patents in 6G technology. And So the Indian companies are ramping up. There are priority sectors that have been identified. Government is supporting all these initiatives, and we are reaching there. And now we look at companies like Sterlite. We started this activity 10 years back. We have a portfolio close to 1,000 patents now. We are filing more than 100 patents every year. And we are winning cases. We are enforcing our patents in India, outside India. We are winning. We are really getting the return on investment now. So, but then there is a gesturation period for every new initiative, and for patents, it's even higher, because it takes 3 years, 4 years to get it granted, and another 3, 4 years to litigate it, for example. So there is a path to it, but then there is a path which is really longish for Indian organizations. But then things are changing, and they are changing way faster. We have Geo, TCS, Sterlite, etc. They have been leading the pack so far, and you will see a completely different landscape of Indian patent ecosystem in next 5 years. I'm of firm belief there.
That's great to hear. Thank you. I'll now start taking questions from the panelists. So for the panelists, the first question is from Chaitali Sarsbuddhe. It's a generic question. Is it possible to elaborate more on CLM tool, Contract Lifecycle Management? Anyone can take that.
So CLM tool is nothing. It's a contract life management cycle management tool, Chaitali. So what it does is, first of all, it has the repository of all your contracts, what your organization entered into. Then it tells you the various obligations about those contracts, like what is due, what are your obligations, what are the obligations of a counterparty when they are due, and if they're not being done on time, then what are the consequences of this? Anything about bank guarantees, performance securities, when are they due, when is to be renewed. So basically, a contract lifecycle management tool is nothing but which monitors and tells you about the contract life cycle throughout. So from signing and execution of the contract till when it has been expired, what are the various things that need to be done in that contract is a CLM tool. So, and there are different tools which are available in the market. So this is what it is. I hope.
Yeah. Just to add to Mukul, there are some tools which also starts from the initiation of the contract drafting and the pre-signing entire workflow, multiple reviews by all the departments and all that stuff also can be also part of the CLM.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you. I think it's a great question, even though it seems generic, because people have different impressions when you say CLM. Some people limit it to pre-signature phase of the CLM, some limit it to storage, and some talk about the post-signature, which is the governance, risk, compliance. But to me, it's all of the above, which forms a true CLM in terms of its completeness, especially related to contracts. I'll take the next question. There's a lot of question, and I'm just trying to compress the questions which are similar in nature. How much can one rely on AI when it comes to legal function? I think we have just touched on this subject a little bit, but if someone can elaborate that and answer it for us.
I can take that. I think it's very simply put, trust but verify. It is in the end a lot of risk, liability, accountability. You can be opened up to litigation, scrutiny, and given these kind of issues, I don't think we're anywhere close to completely relying on what an AI tool generates, especially for legal services. And we're a while away from that level of perfection. The fact that anyway, there is nothing which is really comprehensive. So the tool is what it really is. It is a tool. And you can take it if you feel that it's really compressing a bit of your research time or drafting time, but it cannot be a complete replacement. Even if a clause is drafted and you pick it up and lift it, but you put it in a contract which has no correlation, or there's a contradiction between two clauses, you will have to verify that in any case.
Wonderful.
So it is at best a support function.
Yes, absolutely. Quick question from Mr. Ayan Chatterjee. I think this question is directed toward Mr. Vaibhav, that as IP is mostly used by big companies rather than the small businesses, how AI can help those small businesses to adopt this, to compete against the larger businesses?
So, frankly speaking, so there are two ends to it. There are two help. I mean, this kind of a challenge always existed between large companies and small companies. But then there are two things that have happened in last 3-4 years that have to a large extent bridged those gaps. One very important aspect is AI, and second are the government policies. So, frankly speaking, what large companies can do with quantities, AI can help you beat that quantity with quality and file your patents in gap areas, understand where the challenges are. I mean, they might be filing 100 patents, but then AI can help you understand 101 area where or a feature of a product which is open, which is not patented as yet. Maybe you can file your patent, you can have your own product there. So AI can really help you bridge that gap then what was not possible till now. And second, the government policies for startups and MSMEs pretty much allows you to file patent at either no cost or at a very minimal symbolic cost. So that disbalance that has been there, that disbalance in combination with technology and the cost being taken out of the factor, that is pretty much being bridged at this point of time. It's only a matter of fact when those companies start to use something like AI, or maybe Mr. Gautam comes up with a tool that allows you to really use AI to crack this code and have the quantity being beaten by quality of your filings.
Absolutely. I think this is a great point. I have ET team, we are touching against the boundaries of the time you had given us. Can I take two more questions? Next question is from Kumar Aditya. On compliance costs, the laws are ever changing. Thus, the investment in CLM shall be recurring, which never turns into investment, but remains as a cost for the company, even in the long run. Do you have an insight on this? Does anyone want to take this question?
My view is that, there, could be some enhanced, cost and all, but I don't think it will be altogether a cost, because at the end of the day, I mean, some of these tools can help, an organization mitigating some risk, and also some of the other ROI aspects which we mentioned. So, I think, that will be some enhanced cost, but may not be a cost always. At some point of the time, I think there would be that is what my personal view is.
Wonderful.
I
Thank
feel
you,
that
Sujat.
they're cost saving, they don't incur more cost. Well, then otherwise those things have to be done by humans, and that will have much more cost and more conflict. So they always save cost. Tools save cost in the medium run. So it is not a cost or
Yeah. Only thing is our ability to find the savings and demonstrate, is key.
Yeah.
Wonderful. I think we are running out of time, but any last word from any of the panelists, that you would like to address to the audience?
That's why I just reading one question on this confidentiality piece also, that if there are different departments with different tools, if we combine them, then what about the confidentiality? We can still manage that. We can give different view and different access rights, so that confidentiality can be managed very easily, even if you have a single tool. So last one is that I feel the time of AI has come, and legal tech and AI is something which always compare them to Cognot. So Cognot in 17th, 18th century started with a very basic motor engine, and people used to laugh that what are you making? But then that motor engine somehow disrupted the entire horse industry. There were no more horses left by the 20th century, 21st century, and it is the motor vehicles which have taken it over. So same thing I feel is AI. Very soon it's going to disrupt the market. How and what phase, what shape, we do not know. But the time of AI has come, and we'll definitely see that now you have to be more intuitive, more strategic. Mundane legal work will definitely be shifted to robots and machines. I don't think the humans will be required to do those mundane legal things. At least what I think so.
Yeah.
Wonderful. Thank you, Dr.
From my viewpoint, I think the use cases are there. We already talked about scenarios and, in, compliance, litigation, and all of those aspects. But I think, whether it is law firms or in-house counsels, I think they will take, the, deployment in a different approach, but definitely it's going to be an enabling thing. But not only these two things, but also in the overall legal education sector as well. I think the the academic world also can use the legal AI. There was one question with respect to that, how this will help in delivery of justice. This is one popular question which everyone asks. I think, in terms of pendency, how it can, impact. I think the answer from my perspective would be the judiciary also can use AI, but largely in terms to save, see the metrics, see the efficiency of the court's time. So that metrics can possibly help the courts in, using appropriate time and, helping indirectly of those, pendency of cases. But I think that is also something which should happen in my.
Wonderful. Anyone else?
Yeah, my last quick 10 seconds take on this would be the time of AI has arrived. Maybe it will change its shape and size, but all the law firms, all the companies, all legal departments have to adopt it. The quicker they adopt it, the sooner they are out of a dinosaur age, because the times have changed, and sooner Mr. Gautam Sinha is able to provide us those tools, better it is for all of us.
I wish, but definitely try. Parveen, anything you want to add?
Sure. I just want to add, and I'll just say that while we are quick to adopt all of it, and adoption is a must, I don't think that is an option anymore. We'll become redundant if we look the other way and say we do not need it, because the world is changing at a very, very rapid pace, and we'll be outdated and not be approached if we are not adapting to it. It is the similar manner in which the typewriter transition happened to the computer, and those who felt that the computer will not replace it did replace. It's the same transition that the current generation is going through, but we've got to be very, very careful of the risk that is associated, because that risk to the company, the cost to the company, or financial cost to the company on the risk side, that needs to be not looked away just because an AI is there, and the speed of running. I think a bit of caution to be exercised there.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. We still have a lot of questions there, which we ran out of time. What we'll do as a panelist, I'll pass those questions and we'll send those answers over email to the people who have asked those questions. But at this time, feel free to keep sending questions and we'll try our best to give answers to them. But let me start by thanking all the audience who has patiently joined us and been listening to us of this session. This is the beginning of a discussion, and it's something we should keep continuing doing that. But more than that, I would like to thank all my distinguished panelists, which has led to a very engaging and hopefully very fruitful session to the audience that we have here. So thank you, everyone, from the bottom of my heart. With that, I'd like to close this session. And
thank you, Mr. Sinha, for engaging it so well and moderating it so well. Thanks, Mr. Sinha. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.